Greetings. This is episode 301 of the Outback Mind podcast. Thank you so much for joining in. Wow, it's been an interesting 3 months into 2026, hasn't it? Lots of issues going on out there, fuel and all sorts of things, which are certainly causing a fair bit of disruption and chaos in people's lives. So, most important thing that we can do is to keep ourselves grounded and also this inner connection, which I always sort of speak about, but also the outer connection with other individuals, which can support our well-being, is critical through problematic times. Otherwise, we can certainly get lost up in the mess of it all. So, the vision of the Outback Mind Foundation is to really help people learn to balance their life a bit more proactively rather than reactively. So when things aren't sort of going so well, turn inward and settle and trust that things will come good and as they will. As I mentioned in a previous post, this isn't the first little bit of chaos for 2026, and it's not going to be the last. So hang in there, ride through. I'm sure everything is going to come out better the other side. There's always, positives and negatives consistently, and I just think sometimes we get caught up in the negative really easily. But if we look at the bigger picture, there's always something positive to come out of it, and I don't think this is any exception. So stick with it. If you'd like to reach out to me, for some support or guidance, email. Absolutely happy to do what I can to help. Email address is support@backmind.org.au. Now, today, wow, I've got another amazing guest on by the name of Justin Davies. Justin is a singer, songwriter from Perth that's doing some amazing stuff. So, we're going to talk a bit about his own personal journey today, the trials and tribulations of being a muso, some of the challenges that he's faced, and also what he's doing now to bring joy to people's lives. And that's one great thing about music in general, is it actually brings a lot of happiness to people. So Justin's testament to that. We're going to talk about his own personal challenges, as I mentioned, but some of the real gritty times that he's had in his life, which has made him a better person too. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy this chat. Please follow the Outback Mind Foundation on social media. If you'd like some one-on-one support, meditation coaching, please have a look at the website calmsoulcoaching.com. I can do some private one-on-one stuff there for people, but also check out the Outback Mind Outback Mind Foundation website. Please follow the Outback Mind Foundation on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn if you can, and spread the word. Hope this podcast helps you. Please share it with other people that may help as well. Justin, thank you so much for joining me, mate. Really grateful to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm grateful to be here. It's lovely of you to have me along. I feel like it's great to be chatting to people about music and life and have opportunities that I never thought I'd have. So thank you so much.
Yeah, amazing, mate. And good to see that, you've still got the flowing locks, which is a wonderful thing because I've sort of, been and gone there with that, unfortunately. So, yeah, keep them while you can.
Yeah, it's cool, right? It's people can't believe it when I tell them, but I'm not exaggerating. I reckon in 30 years, maybe I've been to a hairdresser twice, maybe three times. I just do the quick snip. So every, whatever it is, every month or two, I'm like, oh, I'll just like give it a quick one too. But I've
That's
been doing
awesome.
that forever. Yeah,
Unbelievable. Do you
yeah, like,
surf? Are you a surfer?
look, I used to, and I love it. But I just don't get the opportunity to, right? I live really close to the beach, like super duper close. And waves, and I've got a couple of boards, and I bought myself a softboard a few weeks ago. One of those ones you don't have to wax up. They're sort of grippy on the
Yeah.
top, and then underneath, whatever sort of, I don't know what it is, but it's sort of like a glass board underneath. But as I get older and I'm less fit, it's harder, getting up and having a good time of it. But and and not getting down there that much makes it even harder, right? But
Yeah.
I do love to get into the water when I can.
Yeah, that's the key to getting wet, I think, and
Yeah.
just, yeah, filling the positive ions and everything that comes along with it.
Yeah, and incredible, right?
Yeah,
So I don't get to jump on my board that much, but I'm sort of jump in the water most days until it gets too freaking cold, and then I don't. But
yeah,
most days at the moment, and for the last 2 or 3 months, I'll zip down, jump in the water just quickly, and it's funny how it flips. If I'm in a really tricky headspace, and I got to be honest with you, most mornings, are really tough. Um, but and I do my thing. I do my meditation prayer thing. But it's jumping in that water. It's amazing how it can flip you and make you feel so much better.
yeah, mate. We'll come into your story in a minute, but we are energetic beings, and if you can sort of connect with nature and shift your
Yeah,
energy, like have something else help you with that, it's
yeah,
incredible how we can get out of the head, if that makes sense.
yeah. No, no, I'm 100% with you, mate. I sort of every morning, I you know connect into to being connected to everything else because I sort of believe we are.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll dive into that because I think we've got a lot in common when it comes to that sort of stuff, and
yeah,
where we're sort of missing out on in modern society with all that, the turbulence out there. But
yeah.
curious to know about your own journey, mate. As a young fella, like your direction, and did you sort of go through a bit of chaos as a young fella before you found your passion?
Um, I it's really tricky. I don't, I've seen so many people over the years to try and help me get through, you know, the days, and there's been a lot of reflection back on my youth. I can't remember sort of feeling like I was having a tough time with things, but for whatever reason, I found I found being okay tough. And I don't know if that's because I'm overly sensitive, and I feel things maybe more than others might. But from a really young age, 5 or 6 or 7, um, I struggled. And then I remember when I was 17, um, I went through a stage of having anxiety and panic attacks, but I don't even think they knew freaking what they were back then, right?
Yeah.
And I had a lovely doctor that was, being nice and supportive, but, maybe he told my parents I was having panic attacks. But, uh, that was a tricky time. And then, from there forward, um, life sometimes seems hard for me to I'm I'm a funny fish because I I love I love love, and I love nature, and I love seeing things that move me, and I'm moved into a feeling of joy, and feeling connected to something wonderful and beautiful, and not the tangible, but at the
Mm.
same time, I'm to the highs that I have there. I have the equivalent of the lows.
Yeah.
Um, so it's tricky, and I would never say, well, I just want to be in the middle. I just want to cruise. I don't, you know what I mean? Um, because I think sometimes it's wonderful to be moved. And even when I'm moved by things that make me super sad, and feel a bit lost, um, in some ways, I sort of think that there's good in that, you know what I mean? And even if the good is that there's a couple of goods for me, it connects me to in a way that I feel like I want to write, you know, and be in that moment, and when I'm feeling full of emotions, that's when I like to write. But I also think it's important because often what wipes me out, is when other people are struggling, and I think it's important that I don't disconnect from the need to 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 help others if I can help them, or be sympathetic or empathetic, or be understanding. So like it's important to just to be aware, you know what I mean, rather than just cruise and not be aware, and not feel the highs and lows, and not appreciate that, or be understanding that other people might be having some tricky times.
Yeah, well said, mate. I really, really appreciate that. And what you've
Mm,
explained to me that you may not be aware of is you're probably what we call an empath.
yeah.
And that's a wonderful gift. And from one to another, like I never understood this about myself either, as a young
Mm,
person, because I was potentially more emotionally aware than the majority, if that made sense, and very,
mm,
very sensitive, which I call sensible, because it's
yeah.
able to sense rather than shut it.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's a strong gift, and unfortunately, it hasn't been nurtured in a lot of young men
Yeah.
because we've had to survive in life and we've had to shut down a lot of those heightened states of awareness that you
Yeah.
mentioned, and we've got to be able to do things within ourselves to bring that back because that's our journey in this lifetime is to be able to share that frequency, if that makes sense.
Sure, buddy. Yeah.
If we're just going along life robotically, then we're not going to have a wonderful experience, if that makes sense too.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, so I'm really pleased because I never knew this about you until
Mm.
now. And it's good to hear you open up and be honest and vulnerable about that. Did that create a lot of uncertainty, in your teens and then into your adult life about where to go, why you're here, that sort of thing?
Um, as far as knowing a path to take in my life, as far as a career, work and things like that just sort of unfolded and just happened. As far as understanding, you know, my place and my purpose, and you know what life's all about, and all of that sort of thing, I guess. Man, yeah, like it made it really tough. It made it super tough, and only now, only in recent times do I sort of feel that I'm getting closer to understanding, maybe the essence of everything and what life's about. But that's only come about for some for from some not from some from a really long time of feeling pretty wiped out, to the point where you really look for for the essence of truth or peace, um uh and then and that's what then has led to me maybe finding what I feel is is the place, or the not the place, that's the place I go to, maybe for me what life is, and how to get through it. But I don't think I would have got to this place now and how I'm feeling now if I hadn't have gone through some really tough times.
Yeah, yeah. When I was 15, I'll share something pretty deep with you. I was questioning everything as well. And I
Mm.
got a strong sign to say you've got to go through the suffering so you can come out the other side to
Yeah.
what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes sense when you've been through it, right? Like, it makes sense because sometimes you don't really, really reach for a place of peace and understanding unless you're in a really bad place, that you need to really reach for that place
Mm.
of peace and understanding and meditate on it and find it. Um, because if you're fortunate enough that you can just roll through life and be happy, and the days are good, and everything just is up and on, then that's great. But I don't know if you then have the need to try and connect to something that's maybe far bigger than you and the life around you. And I think it's when things are super duper tough that you really do want to try and connect to the thing that's bigger and beyond us, and it connects all of us and connects everything to that there is to one another. You don't really probably want to look for that, or you don't feel the need to look for it and feel it.
Spot on. You may be similar to me, whereas our families, or my family in particular, have done pretty well in life, but I don't think many of them would have been able to have the ability to connect to something more powerful than themselves. And in my pop's day, and that it was church and God and this, that, the other. Maybe that might have been limited. There could have been a ceiling on that. But what
Mm,
you mentioned there was surrender. When you're able to surrender and ask for guidance and support, you can
yeah,
usually come in. You're getting out of the
yeah,
way.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I totally
yeah,
agree.
yeah. And that's a skill that we don't we actually we have when we're young, but we lose. You
Yeah,
know, it's this sense of belonging and purpose and security. I really believe this planet is provided to us to live in joy. It's
yeah,
got everything that we need to provide abundance to us, but that abundance is being taken away through greed,
yeah,
which is a low vibration, And you talked about love and joy and that, which is a high vibration.
yeah, yeah,
So being able to be more connected to that and getting away from the greed and the survival and the shame and the guilt and the fear helps
yeah,
us elevate. But you also mentioned about going back and forth from one to the other. And when you're
mm,
in the other, that's when some magic actually happens. You can
yeah,
create, right, and so forth too. Yeah.
yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. I do think that the world is like this remarkably beautiful, wonderful place, and um, we have the opportunity to live here, all of us, everyone, everywhere, in this lovely, harmonious, happy place. But unfortunately, yeah, like greed, uh, greed sort of spoils it all, right? And it's not like I'm a saint. It's not like I can say that, at various levels I'm not greedy. I'd like to drive in a nice car rather than a crappy car. And I guess that's not greed, but there's something that, there's something within wanting nice things and good things, that you that there needs to be balance with, because at an extreme level, the more you want the better things, and the things that cost more, and the homes that are bigger and better, and in the suburbs that are bigger or better, or the whatever those materialistic things are, the more that feeds into the greed thing, right? And the extreme version of that is just the imbalance between the super duper wealthy, and then the people that are just unfortunately can't even find food, and shelter, and yeah, it's a beautiful world, but it's been spoilt by those extremes. It's
Mm.
it's a shame, and maybe one day there'll be this moment of, I often say, like, the world's in a really tricky place, and it feels like, it feels like it's not going to get better anytime soon, unless something happens that just shifts everybody's state of understanding, in a massive way immediately, and just realigns everybody. You sort of feel that's what's needed, because the other way of it, just you know the good and the truth, and the way of reaching this place where everyone around the world is in a better place. If that's got to happen slowly, you feel like it's a long way away. I just wish there was a moment of mass enlightenment where everybody could say, wait a minute, we need to look after everybody else.
Yeah, we definitely have glimpses of that, but then we get back to the same old, same old. There's a bit of
Mm.
compassion and higher acceptance and awareness through COVID. Everyone sort of went into their hearts a bit, but then
Yeah,
everyone's getting on with it.
yeah,
We're probably seeing a similar thing now with some of the issues with oil, and it just goes to show how humanity's become dependent on things which are controlling us too. So,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. Life's a tricky gig. Like I start off the day and I do my thing, my meditation and my prayer, and I feel as good as I could possibly feel within myself. Um, and part of what I do in the morning is I try and connect to being able to reconnect to how I'm feeling in the morning during the process of the day and the evening. But the day starts, life's on, you're engaging with other people and other situations, and it's very hard um, to stay in that wonderful place and not get caught up in the madness of life, because that's the society we're in, right? It's you've got all these influences outside of your control that get in the way, and make you just fall into that crazy bloody life.
mm,
It's tricky.
the way I try and approach that, when I see people that are behaving a certain way or have gotten a certain agenda, I actually try and feel compassion for them.
Yeah,
Because I know that they're not really living a life which is, maybe abundant in some areas, but it's lacking a hell of a lot in others. In the most
yeah, not
important,
aligned, right? Not aligned with like, I like to feel that there's this universal truth and way um, that's ever present, and you can sort of connect to it, or you can not be connected to it. And yeah, that's the trick, staying connected to it, and trying to live your life in the middle of other people's lives who aren't connected to it at all. Tricky.
dead right. No, you're dead right, mate. And look, unfortunately, the colonized system, and it's probably happened for, centuries now, that this domination has been the forefront of the way that people live their lives. And you can live in that paradigm, or you can sort of be a bit cautious about it. That's, getting back to that consciousness level, ladder and level I mentioned before. This is a world which is being created by a low level of consciousness, and you're talking about universal intelligence, and this is a frequency which is much higher than the other. So when you see people behaving in a certain way, you'd be able to stay conscious and connected where you are at, to be able to have compassion for others, behaviors and lack of consciousness, I think is important because, for me personally, to be able to hold that, other people sort of recognize that they want something of that or some of that too, and they potentially want to be able to change
Yeah, cool,
themselves.
right?
And yeah, I've seen people like transform from that trap of dependency and financial gain to be able to bring you happiness, but really at the end of the day, you're just on a hamster wheel of getting nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
do believe if you're doing what you are meant to be doing and you're aligned with your purpose, you will be rewarded in abundance and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. Like I do. I feel like if you're doing what you love for the good of you and not to the harm of anyone else, then you will find your way forward, and there will be layers of abundance, whatever they are. But to do your good um, to the harm of no one else is super, super important. And then
Mm.
I can't imagine, I'm sure there's circumstances where maybe I can't just have some sweeping broad statement, but it feels that that's the way things are meant to be, and you will find your path, and life will be good.
Correct. Yeah, there's a law, a universal law above the conventional law, So
Yeah,
the more you can connect with that, I think the better experience you'll possibly have.
yeah.
So yeah, yeah. What are some of the most challenging times that you've had in your life? If you wouldn't mind sharing that you've been able to sort of work through and come out the other side of.
Jeez, tricky because there's been a few, and and not getting too caught up in my in raving on about uh, about things that maybe people don't want to hear about. I guess in recent, like quite a few years ago, the relationship that I was in with the kid's mother just wasn't right, and it hadn't been right for a long time, Like, it hadn't been right for years and years, and she's wonderful and great mum. Um, but we just weren't as we should have been. Um, and moving through that and not being with the kids all the time and feeling like they weren't living the best family experience that they could live. Um, that was tricky, right? That was tough. Um, and and then those sort of feeling that way then just makes you um, sort of move into the place where you feel less about yourself rather than more about yourself. Um, and then that just makes getting through the days relatively tricky. Um, and just get a bit, I guess I don't, you do, whether the words, depressed, but yeah, life through that time, it was tricky, because you just struggle with feeling less about yourself and less about you know, your your days and the days that you're living and the life that you're living, um, because you feel like you you could have done more or been more. Oh, sorry.
All right. No, I got you, mate. You're still there.
Are you still there? Can you see me?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All
Oh,
good.
great. So it just slightly disconnected.
All right.
So hopefully I'll see you again. So yeah, look, that was a tricky time, and it's funny. It's not like I don't want to share too much about that, but when there's other people's lives involved within the story of my life, I'm mindful of not disrespecting their privacy, but that was a tricky time, right? That was a tricky time, you know. Um,
What you're explaining, mate, I'd say probably 3 out of 5 guys in Australia go through, So
mm,
relationship breakdowns, kids having to miss out, and I've been through it too, And I never thought I would, but I did. But when I look back on it, I never had any education about how to have a healthy relationship. I just mirrored what I was shown.
mm,
Same as my wife, probably. And I never had any education about how to be a father. So, this is literacy which we don't get in modern society, which is causing us to potentially have problems which cause social issues.
yeah.
That doesn't it make sense to be able to put time and effort and education aside to be able to help guys in particular to set themselves up for success rather than potential failure?
Mm, yeah, I get it. Yeah, you're right. Um, Yeah, and look, I just missed being with my kids. I was still with them every every second day, and
Yeah.
probably at some time during every part of, every day I would see them at some point. But it was, you know, I've always been super, super close to my kids. And that was all that just made it super hard when, even for an hour or 2 hours or a few hours when I wasn't with them, it was a tricky time, and just feeling like I was letting them down. That was I didn't want to let them down. I never want to let them down.
How old are they now?
They're pretty old now, 16 and 18.
Yeah.
Um, but we're as close as we could possibly be. I think everybody that knows me, and I think they all acknowledge that we have this wonderful thing going on. I'm really close with my kids. And I'm so grateful. I mean, there's not a morning that goes by when I'm going through the my gratitude thing. It's the first thing on the list. The relationship I have with my kids. I'm super fortunate. Mm.
Yeah, amazing, mate.
Yeah,
Thanks for sharing that stuff, mate.
yeah.
Hope that sort of makes some of the guys out there listening that might be going through some tough stuff as well. So,
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's tricky. Just
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah, sure is, mate. I
Mm.
appreciate that. I know one of your passions and what you're doing now is being a muso. When did that all sort of come about? Has it been with you your whole life, or is it something you discovered a bit later?
Uh, so music's been always been in the middle of my life. And when I was really young, my brother and sister are both musicians. They're both really successful musicians. And I grew up with music always in the home. Um, I have memories, saying this to someone else. I have memories of my brother and sister were quite a bit old. Well, they're not quite a bit, but when they were going out, I was at home with mum and dad and on the couch and listening to, you know, Barbara Streisand and Cleo Lane and Roberta Flack and Nina Simone, and that 70s period of Frank Sinatra and Neil Diamond and the Beatles. I sort of grew up with that in my life a lot because mum and dad listened to a lot of music.
Mm.
Um, and then when I was, somewhere around 20, I sang just for fun, maybe just for a few months in a funny sort of band, just for fun. But other than that, I haven't played music, and I don't, I'm not really very good with any instruments. I fudge around a little bit on the guitar, and I fudge around on the piano and pick up different things, but at very basic levels. And then a couple of years ago, I was just trying to reconcile some feelings that I had from somebody that I was very close to, um, that wasn't with us anymore, and I would, feel like she was present sometimes, and I just wanted to grab her and hold her, and I couldn't, and I really struggled with the notion of not being able to do that. Like I really couldn't quite. And I get it. I've been close to lots of people that have passed away, but with this particular person, I just couldn't grab hold of not being able to just um, see her. Uh, and anyhow, I wanted to just go and sit at a place where maybe there was a memorial to her or something, but I heard that her parents hadn't done that. And I was wondering what I would do, and then I was in a music store, I would always just go and look at the guitars. Not, like I said, not because I could play them, play the guitar very well, but I always, for the last 20 years, had always just looked for my dream guitar. And then I walked into the store, and it was hanging up on the wall, this freaking crazy, beautiful looking guitar. And the moment I held it, I'm not being silly, but the moment I held it, it was like, oh God, this feels good. And then I just played something, just a chord, and it sounded beautiful. So I thought I'd go and write a song about how I felt in relation to this person that wasn't, that I would think about. And and the song sort of just came um, in this lovely, beautiful, flowing way, and I didn't really know what I was playing. I didn't know the chords I was playing. I still don't know freaking chords that I'm playing when I'm writing now. I have to Google them, or I have to ask the boys in the band. Um, so I just wrote this piece, this song, and the words, and it happened in such this lovely, beautiful, flowing way. And then I wrote another one and another one, and within 6 months I had 11 or 12 songs. So I went down to this studio that has all this vintage analog equipment out of the studios of the Beatles and the Stones and Hendrix. Like I was saying earlier, he knows the songs that were recorded, through this equipment. But anyhow, I just went down to lay these songs down for me, just to have to listen to. And then this guy Rob Grant, who's amazing, who Miley Cyrus flew over to his studio, and Lenny Kravitz, and he's been nominated for a Grammy a couple of times and done stuff with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds and Tame Impala and all these freaking amazing musicians and bands. Anyhow, he was like, Justin, we need to get some people in. We need to do these songs properly. So he pulled in some some amazing musicians, guys that have a couple of guys from Sleepy Jackson, and there's the string players from the symphony here, and a couple of other great musicians from WA, and and the album just and the songs just took their shape as they did in the moment. There was no planning that they would sound a certain way. The songs, when I play them on my guitar, they're they're sort of ballads, and maybe they're a bit daggy, but the guys that came into the band, and Rob as well, they're all super cool, musicians that are amazing. So the album ended up taking this really like a pretty great sounding album in relation to what they've done. So they took my songs and made them pretty cool sounding songs. And that's how it happened. So it was never planned. I never thought this would end up happening. And then through some connections of friends, um, ended up connecting up with Willie Nelson's PR person in America, and she listened to the album, and she's now doing our PR for us over in the US. And then I connected up with Matt and Emily here there in Melbourne, or Matt's in Queensland, Emily's in Melbourne, and they're both like the most respected people in the industry doing what they're doing as far as public relations in music. And they were lovely. They listened to the music, and fortunately took me in, which was amazing. So I've just got these incredible people with me, and I like it's that thing of gratitude, and not really knowing how it's all happened, but it's just these things have come into my life with the music, and now people are listening to it, and it's wonderful. It wasn't ever. I never ever dreamed that this would be my life now. um, but it feels super special because of everything, the way the universe just keeps doing its thing, so yeah, that's how it happened, not planned,
I think everything happens for a reason, mate. And
Yeah.
because you've been able to maintain consistency and practice these things on a daily basis and be drawn to gratitude and those sorts of things,
Mm.
then you're living life more from the heart rather than
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah.
And it seems to line up. The right people appear at the right time, and the right things start to happen. And
Yeah,
yeah,
that's how it feels, That's really how it feels. It's wonderful, like amazing in that sort of surprising, can't believe it way, but
mm,
also feels true and right, you know.
mm, amazing.
Yeah.
You feel alive now, I'd imagine, don't you?
Yeah,
Because
yeah. I'm in, and when I'm playing music, I'm absolutely in the place that's the truest me,
mm,
for sure.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
amazing. And yeah, mate, that's so powerful to hear you say that because you've had highs and lows in your life, but you found something now which can give you this traction and purpose.
Yeah,
I think everyone's got something in them, haven't they? That's probably been shut down.
everybody's got something, you know. Um, whether it's spinning some clay on a wheel, whether it's painting, whether it's wonderful words, whether it's just being you know a, a great listener, whatever it is, whether it's gardening. I just think, unfortunately, the busyness and the franticness of life, and just trying to tread water and get through, doesn't give us the opportunity to to find the thing that makes us feel, like we're in our right place. But it's there. There's something that I guess. Well, I'm hoping that most people, there's something special that makes them feel wonderful, and it might just be listening to something. It might not even be doing anything. It just not might be able to connect to something that makes them feel wonderful. Whether it's a doing thing or a connecting thing or a receiving thing. I'm sure we all have something.
Spot on. I agree, mate. There's a lot of people that have gone through hardship and traumas and all that too, but there's always a glimpse and a flicker there, that's alive because we are alive, and
Yeah,
uh, to create that life force within ourselves again
yeah,
takes time and determination and practice. And it sounds like you've actually done that. You've got these routines which are nourishing you, and once you
yeah,
expands out, and that's given you the opportunity to be able to connect with the people you're connecting with now.
yeah.
Great
Yeah,
on.
look, I do have the routines, and I have all my stuff. It's not like I've got it nailed. I
Yeah,
haven't nailed it.
yeah,
I'm still working on it, but I'm better than how I was, a year or two or five ago, that's for sure.
amazing, mate. So
Mm.
what's happening now? You got the band together, the Tortured Souls, is that right? Yeah, you start.
Yeah, so the bands that there's people that have come into the lineup since we first started, and I'm sure there'll be more people, and some people might split when they're busy and then come back again. But we'll just do our thing. We'll get this single that's out now, and then there's another single being released in 6 weeks time, and then another one, and then the album will get out there, and then hopefully people will listen to it and hear it and like it, and then we can jump on the road, head to Ballarat, and play our music, and um, you know just be in this wonderful place where we're playing and people are hopefully enjoying it. And I don't know if there could be anything more wonderful than that.
Spot on. No, I agree, mate. Yeah, if you're bringing joy to other people's lives and it's making you feel good, that's
Yeah, I mean that's just it, right? That I don't
yeah,
know if there's anything better than that. I hope that happens. I shouldn't say I hope. I'm looking forward to when that happens.
yeah, amazing, mate. I know. I know I've listened to your single Unforgettable Days and I've watched the
Yeah,
video. That's incredibly good.
yeah,
I don't know how the hell who created that for you, but that's first class.
man, like crazy, like Dara Manis and Patrick Pierce. You know, those guys were incredible. And Dara's, originally from Dublin and now lives in Melbourne with Pat, where Pat hangs out. Pat is part of the Pierce brothers, Jack and Pat, and they're amazing musicians. But um, you know, what the heck? Just landed these guys that are as good as as anyone can possibly be with creating an amazing film clip. I mean, Dara, if you look at his thing online, he's done stuff with Ed Sheeran and U2. I think he's done stuff with Tame Impala. I hope I'm not saying that when he hasn't. But an amazing, incredible list of these musicians and bands, and then little old me, gets these guys just making this freaking beautiful looking clip. It's like, what the heck's going on, you know? Yeah, yeah. The clip's lovely. It's quite cinematic, and again, it's one of those things where the stars aligned, where those guys, were connected to Matt and Em, and got on board. And man, yeah, just so fortunate. The clip's really cool. It's a lovely looking clip.
I agree, mate. I'd like people to have a look at it and reach out to you and that. What's the best way to do it? What's the name of the
Oh,
YouTube?
so yeah, so we're on Spotify. If they search The Tortured Souls or Unforgettable Days on Spotify, um, they can listen to the song. If they want to have a look at that clip, we're on YouTube. Um, I'm sure we're on iTunes as well. But yeah, if they just chuck the Tortured Souls in there and Unforgettable Days in one of those platforms, they'll be able to have a listen or have a watch. That'd be cool.
Amazing, mate. I
Mm.
think your life, for you may be in your 50s or 60s now, I'm not sure, but certainly like this is like the platform for your growth. I
Yeah.
really believe that. And sometimes people give up early, wondering what they're here, what their purpose is. But I think you've really
Mm.
found yours now, and that's going to bring a lot of happiness to yourself, but also a lot of happiness to other people, which I think is wonderful.
I hope so. I hope it's to think that might be something that that happens from here. Man, that'd just be, just so wonderful. There's no words for it. But if that's where my life leads me, then shivers. I can't wait. That'd be wonderful.
You just keep doing what you're doing on a daily basis and just don't have any expectations. And I think that
Yeah.
keep presenting for you.
Yeah, that's true. I don't have any expectations. I let the universe and do its thing, and wherever I'm meant to be is where I'll be, and that'll be enough for me to know that that's just at that place and at that time. I'm in my best place. So I'll let I'll just let it all unfold.
Get out of the road. That's what it
Mm.
comes down to. So can people connect with you on social media and that type of stuff?
Yeah, yeah. So we're on Instagram and Facebook. So absolutely, just under the Tortured Souls. Yeah, absolutely. Jump on, send me a message, have a look around. Yeah, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, appreciate it. I'll put that in the notes for this. And
Cool.
mate, I've really enjoyed the chat.
Yeah, I've really
Uh,
enjoyed it as well. Like, thank you so much.
the best for you is yet to come. I have no doubt about it. So, uh,
Great.
watch this space for Justin. And mate, I hope we can catch up one day. So I really
Yeah,
appreciate
I'd
it.
love it. I'll see you when I get over there.
Cheers, mate. Hang
Good
on.
on you.
I just
Thanks, mate.
hang on.